change. While small and medium enterprises in developing economies are flourishing and contribute up to 78% of employment and more than 29% of GDP. The top challenges that stand out worldwide, according to an SAP survey, include the attraction of new customers and talent, as well as maintaining efficient operations. Joining us in studio to unpack the survey further is Sunil Geness. He's Director of Government Relations from the SAP. Thanks so much, Sunil, for joining us this morning. Well, I was going through some of the pointers that were highlighted by the survey, and something that stood out for me was when asked about top business priorities for the next 12 months, we had respondents in the developed and emerging markets appear to be sharing broadly similar goals, but 55% of those in emerging economies citing growth as a top business priority. And some would raise an eyebrow and say, well, surely that should be your priority, making money at the end of the day.
So if we just look at Africa alone, 7 of the top 10 fastest growing markets are in Africa. And the reason why they're called emerging markets is because they are coming out and creating those opportunities. So entrepreneurs and more particularly small businesses see the opportunity coming. There's further investments in most of these countries that is taking place, and with investment comes business opportunity, and that is why these SMEs are seeing the growth as one of the critical outputs.
But we've got to drill further there. I mean, where growth is the key priority, then your priorities that follow become more of a focus in terms of what needs to be set out in order to achieve that goal. So let's go through some of what's been outlined in terms of what needs to be done to achieve that.
So I think first and foremost is retaining current customers and then finding new customers, which is critical to growth. Then related to that, with growth comes the need for human capital. If human capital is in place, then it ensures that you're able to scale appropriately. And last but not least are operational efficiencies, which SMEs actually lack because they start off very small and they're one-man business and they grow over a period of time. And running a one-man show is quite different from a scaled-up business. So I think these 3 important areas are what the businesses will focus on going forward.
What countries rather have got it right with these emerging enterprises? Because one gets an image of 2 kinds. The one is the sort of hidden economy, where people just go out on entrepreneurs, they spend money, they buy things, they sell things, and it's not taxed and it's below the radar. Then the other one is the regulated, where the companies are registered and so on. I would think most emerging markets have both. Which country is getting it right the best?
It's quite interesting. We recently ran a competition, a worldwide competition called The Power of Small. And we ran this with the Soca Changemakers. And the whole idea was to find out businesses that were actually going to be sustainable, had growth potential, and ultimately make an impact with jobs. And I'm very proud to say that 2 emerging markets, Brazil and Africa, have come up as the top 4 winners.
But Africa's not really a market. Surely there are different countries in Africa, and some of them are much easier on entrepreneurs than others. South Africa, for example, is not very good at encouraging entrepreneurs.
Well, yes and no. I mean, we had a conference earlier this week with Endeavour where this issue was discussed, particularly around creating sustainable environments for entrepreneurs. And most of the entrepreneurs came out and said, look, issues such as finance are actually not a challenge in South Africa. What actually holds us back here in South Africa is bureaucracy. It's government legislation that holds us back. It's the heavy tax burden which might be holding us back. But the opportunities are certainly there. And with the way that we've been protected during the global financial crisis, these opportunities still exist and remain quite real at the moment.
So, when it comes to surveys like these, we've had these kind of outcomes being highlighted time and time again. The fact that, amongst the chief challenges is the bureaucracy that comes up with setting up shop in South Africa, doing business in South Africa, the red tape that comes along. What do results like these actually achieve in terms of getting government to now come to the party and bring some resolve to the situation?
Yes, government needs to take very clear cognizance of this. This survey was carried out amongst the BRICS countries and developing countries like UK, US, Mexico, France, Germany. So the issues that are prevalent out of this survey are quite relevant for South Africa. What government needs to do is take cognizance of this, look at what are the red tape issues that are preventing entrepreneurs from becoming successful and SMEs as such, and using technology, because today, mobile technology, mobile is a new desktop, right? So if you can use mobile technology to get information out, this is critical. And the small, medium enterprises do not have the time to read tons of pages and verbiage. They need something sharp.
Is government becoming more cognizant? Are we seeing those kind of strides being made?
Well, in the recent past, I've seen that happening in government, particularly around the funding agency, in the way that the DTI is taking this matter forward, the kind of forums that are created. For example, a number of SMEs in South Africa just don't know that the government actually plans trips overseas to key markets, and they can participate free of charge in some of these trips. They don't know this. So it's about information provision. Ultimately, information is the critical building or stumbling block. If you look at the crisis that happened in the Arab world and other places around the world, it's about information. And government needs to get information out in bite-sized pieces.